What's up, YouTube? What's up, Twitch chat? First league of the day, playing through some Dimir FrogTide. So I played in an RCQ yesterday, and when I was getting ready to finish up the last few spots of my deck list, I was looking around and I was like, oh, there's some people I recognize that play Tron, play like Through the Breach Tron. There's a couple of people I recognize that play a lot of Dimir. So I'm going to gear for those. I'm going to put like extra copy of Mystical Dispute in my sideboard, max out on Break the Ices. And then there's just like round 1 Energy, round 2 Amalia combo, round 3 another Energy. And it's like, all right, well, I'm over this. So I'm still in like the workshop trying to come up with ways to fight against the energy decks with Dimir Shadow. Easier said than done. But I found a list that Pyganti posted on Twitter. Pedro, what's up? With Phyrexian Crusader in the sideboard of FrogTide, saying that it was doing a lot of work against Boros. So I wanted to give that a shot. So the first league, at least today, you're going to play through some Dimir, FrogTide, trying out these Phyrexian Crusaders in the board. In the main, we've got a couple Carpies. Yeah, Carpies. Couple copies of Harbinger of the Seas, along with one more on the board. Hopefully get some cheese wins that way. 4 Force of Negation, 4 Counterspell to help protect our frogs, protect our Harbingers, FrogTides. 3 Spell Snare, along with a Spell Pierce, and a Consign to Memory in the main. So another piece of tech I kind of stole from Pyganti there, the Consign in the main. It's an interesting choice. Like, allegedly there's enough ETB abilities. There's enough, like, static prison style effects coming in that Consign's got some usefulness. We'll see how that plays out. We've got our mana base adjusted a little bit. So I probably should run the 3rd Dark Slick Shores over the 3rd island. In fact, we probably will. Just because of Phyrexian Crusader in the sideboard. But I've been having a lot of games where Dark Slick Shore, I've wanted an untapped land and just like had a Dark Slick Shore as my 4th or 5th land, and it's felt really bad. So I'm really not sold on it very much or at all. At all, really. Like, negative sold on it. But regardless, we'll see how it goes. Otherwise, yeah, just straightforward Bowmaster, Psychic Frog. Shoot him in the face. We do have a copy of Glistening Deluge in the main. Another Deluge in the sideboard. I've been on Toxic Deluge for forever, and I don't think it's doing the job. The life loss has been pretty monumental, so I'm gonna try out Glistening Deluge. I've really never given it a solid shot, but we'll see how it plays out. Let's see, Brian jammed your blue-black Shadow deck yesterday in an RCQ, easy 4-1-1 into top 8, then dead to Mardu Energy. Thanks for your content. Well, I'm glad that the list worked out for you. I'm sorry you ran into Mardu Energy. Definitely a rough one to hit there in the start of top 8. That is one of the things I plan on doing after this league, is trying to, we're going to go through this league, see how some of these changes help out with Dimir Shadow or Dimir FrogTide. And then if they look good here, we'll try to adopt some of them into the Dimir Shadow Shell and see if they work out there. That's always the ultimate goal, is to bring tech over to the Shadow archetypes. Only losses of the day were against the same player on the same Mardu. Deck is bonkers. Deck is bonkers. Unfortunately. Deck is extraordinarily consistent. It always seems like, at least for me, when I play against the energy variants, it always seems like no matter what I do, their hand is just built to like beat that thing. Like, if I find a bunch of counter spells, then they're just going like 1-drop into 1-drop, 1-drop into Flage. And my counters look really bad. If their hand is... we'll keep this. If their hand is... or my hand is a bunch of removal spells, then it's just like bombardment into a Johnny, into another Johnny, into Flage. And I'm like, alright, well. Scalding Tarn pass. So I think I'm going to hold up Spell Snare this turn. Could be an opposing frog deck. Yeah. They didn't play anything turn 1. I feel like they're probably just passing. Dark Slick Shores is a nice pickup. So now we got Bowmaster if we want to go for that. And then not having to use this preordain yet. It's kind of nice. Thundering Falls. So this could be like Wizards, I guess. Dogfish, what's up? Are they contemplating countering this? We'll keep the Spell Snare on top. I'm not opposed to drawing the Spell Snare. So I'll make the decision like before I cast anything. But if they're not going to do anything, then I'm going to try to surveil into another land and just like not miss land drops. Yeah, I guess we'll keep that. Oof. Nice. Well, we are keeping up on land drops. That's a huge plus. Ty, I'm not sure if the link works on Twitter or on YouTube, but I can copy and paste the link in for you. All right. We'll just keep surveilling, keep trying to hit our lands. I mean, that could potentially cut them off of red completely. But it would also cut me off of black, so I think I'm going to ditch it. And I think I'm going to try to jam a Bowmaster here. See what happens. Yep, you got it. Thought I was on Twitch. Happens to me all the time. Alright, here's a frog. Counter spell, sure. Go ahead. It's just like a big thunder trap. Thunder clap. It's not even bad for me. But I kind of want to fight over it just to get them to use more mana. So I could go like counterspell, force pitch frog. All right, well now I'll just go for FrogTide with Spell Pierce back up. Or Spell Snare, because I can Spell Snare, a counter spell. Like, pretty reasonable for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could go for Preordained first. One, two, three, four, something random. Here's FrogTide. Now, if they have a bigger FrogTide, we could be in trouble. 2, 3. I guess technically their FrogTide's not currently bigger than mine. Looks like they do have one. Never mind. Not a FrogTide. Yay. All right, Null Drifter. Null Drifter Harbinger. So I don't want my Harbingers if they're going to be doing the same thing. Saw Snapcaster, so I like Spell Bomb. Stern Scolding can answer Snapcaster, but if that's the only thing it's hitting, like I'm assuming they're boarding out Harbingers too. Perhaps I don't want to bring in Stern Scolding. I could bring in FrogRexian Crusader because we saw like lightning bolts and pierces and stuff, so maybe they just don't have an answer to Crusader. And what are we boarding out? Probably don't care about Consign, since Null Drifter is a cast trigger. Push looks a little meh. Deluge. Something like that. Yeah, we'll roll with that. Crusader is definitely some Pygonti tech. I cannot claim that one on my own. Pi posted about like missing a trophy going 4-1 with Crusader and it being really good into Boros energy. So that's like the only reason I'm trying it out. Play one of these, go get an Undercity Sewers lands. Yeah, FrogRexian Crusader. The only Crusader that doesn't get hit by static prison or on thin ice. Not on thin ice. The mountain one. The, you know. You know. Yeah, Chained to the Rocks. Good call. Alright. I kind of want to jam a frog here while they don't have counter spell up. Like, they could have Bolt. I fight through Bolt. They could have Spell Snare. But, like, does it get any better for me? Don't feel like it does. I think I'm just going to jam Frog. This is like, make them have exactly Spell Snare right here. Discard Island and push. They follow up with a Harbinger. That's kind of fine with me. I wish I had a Force Negation, but all right. Getting to untap with a frog is pretty great. So let's just shock in here. So I've got like double counter available. Pass the turn. Come on, little froggy. I will say, like, the RCQ I played yesterday, I had one copy of Frog in the 75, and it did do a reasonable amount of work when I saw it. So, like, I shouldn't hate on Frog as much as I do. I definitely do think it's better in these, like, Dimir Murktide shells than it is in Dimir Shadow, but I should probably still give it its dues. Odawara bounce my frog, sure. I'd like to replay the frog. Could go for an Undercity Sewers, but I think I'm just like never tapping off double counterspell if I can afford to. Snapcaster. Spell Snare. I will take a Watery Grave, and I will play it out despite it being something I can discard to the frog, because, again, I do not want to tap off of double counters if I can afford to. Because we are getting eerily close to just, like, hardcast Null Drifter territory. And I know hardcast Null Drifter by itself doesn't kill me, but never mind. We're far away from hardcast Null Drifter territory. In fact, we are on to match number 2. Love to see that. But yeah, going through the RCQ yesterday, I had a bunch of matchups where I was just like, man, I kind of wish I was on Murktides. Kind of wish I was on Harbinger of the Seas. And so we're probably going to spend a little bit of extra time over the next few weeks really grinding out some Dimir Murktide, some Dimir FrogTide, and seeing if it's an avenue we want to devote more time to. We'll still be playing Shadow, but I think if the RCQ season between now and December is just Boros everywhere, then it makes sense to have a deck that is not auto-losing to Boros. What bad deck is on the burner? You played Janker after the good decks the last couple of streams. So that's just what you think I'm doing, is I'm just setting y'all up for a real wrecker. How'd it go yesterday? I was X and 2, and I ended up giving a win to one of my opponents in like the last round because neither of us were live for top 8. I picked up my 2 losses like the first couple rounds of the event. And so I just gave them the win, and it was like their first modern tournament. It's kind of a homie scoop. Homie scoop for a homie that I didn't know. But they really wanted the win. There was no prizing out for like non-top 8. So Rakdos Shadow does reasonable into Boros. It does, but it doesn't do reasonable into most everything else. Rack Shadow does reasonable info. Or I took second in my RCQ yesterday with Dimir Murktide. That's sick. What kind of matchups did you see? What's that counterspell art? This is Commander Masters, apparently. It's pretty sick. It's like a... Looks like a snowflake shield. Arcade Post, apparently, did this art. What do we got? What do you think about Jam Nethergoyf and Blue Black Merc? I've seen a couple lists trying it out. I don't dislike it. I do think if you're playing Nethergoyf, there's like a lot of considerations that you need to make. Street Wraith, Mishra's Bauble, both. At least Mishra's Bauble, even if you're not on Street Wraith. Unfortunately, Bauble does make like Murktide a little more awkward. It was weird. I played 2 mil, 1 hammer, 1 Jund creativity, 1 Yogg in my Swiss games. Do you know how much I would pay to get that lineup of decks? But instead, I feel like every event is just Boros, 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 Tron, 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 Boros, Boros, Tron. Bobble could be cool. Maybe 2 less Merc for the bad synergy. Possibly. I don't know. I'm always in that camp of like, if you're playing Dimir Murktide, then you need to be like Murktide Central. It's like if you're not building around playing Murktide, then are you playing the deck the best way it can be? 4-1, lost a hammer. They just drew so many sagas and I saw no harbingers. That is usually how it goes. Sure, my opponent's got like some way to fight over Bowmaster of their own or something. But I want to do this while they don't have counterspell up. Oh, do they just have like actual factual nothing going on over there? That's kind of cool. Am I just jamming a FrogTide? I feel like I am just jamming a FrogTide. Like, they don't have counterspell up. Sure, there's other things I could consider here, but... Do they know about this land? Yeah. Shock in a Watery Grave. Play a FrogTide. If their hand... I guess they can't have all their blue available. So this is like FrogTide counterspell. Never mind, not FrogTide counterspell. Deluge counterspell. We could just jam a 3/3 FrogTide. They haven't had counterspell in the previous turns. But they did shock in Watery Grave. I don't know if that necessarily signifies counterspell. Maybe they were thinking about like a follow-up FrogTide. Alright, well if this is a FrogTide, this worked out exponentially better for me. Oh. Do you think that new Gloomlake Verge will see play some FrogTide over some number of Darkslick Shores? Let's see. Hold that thought. There's like 2 cycles of rare lands in this set, right? I will absolutely force negation this Cling to Dust. They're even going for the life gain. Where are the lands? Moonlake Verge. Blue, black, activate only if you control an island or a swamp. Yeah, I mean, I think it's perfectly fine for FrogTide. Comes in untapped. You know it taps for blue, which you want. Can tap for black, and all you have to do is have a swamp, or an island or a swamp, which is like the majority of your mana base anyway. I was thinking you were talking about the 13 or less life one, and I would have said that one's no. That one's unplayable. But yeah, I think Gloomlake Verge is completely reasonable. We're going to have ourselves a standoff here. Kind of rude. Play the FrogTide. So we could jam our FrogTide now. If I still think that they just have like a spell. I think their hand is FrogTide, Counterspell, and then probably like another Fatal Push. That's my prediction. Or it could be like, I don't think it's FrogTide, or it could be FrogTide, Counterspell, Spell Snare. And they just haven't had the blue to play out the full suite. I could definitely see that. So I kind of want to just play out my FrogTide, but at the same time, if I've got their hand predicted correctly and it's FrogTide, Spell Snare, Counterspell, and they try to jam next turn, then I get to like keep most of my interaction and just untap with a bigger FrogTide. I don't know. I'm going to pass in the hopes that maybe they just go for like a frog or something. Or that the guess is right and it's like FrogTide, Counterspell, Spell Snare. But like land doesn't change that if it is. Let's see how right we are. FrogTide, Counterspell, Spell Snare. Bro. I'm going to go crazy. Anything you can do, I can do also. Do I have my decks on Moxfield or any site? Yeah, I've got everything on Moxfield. Here's the link to this one. Okay. Got a FrogTide. I've got a Shoot the Sheriff. You have... What? There's supposed to be more to it than that. They just have another... No. They've got to just be sitting on Counterspell. And like... Sweet Counterspell. Or we FrogTide. They go for Counterspell. I go for Spell Snare. They have another... Force Negation? Okay. So that's probably the card they scried to the top. I would I would bet money that that's the card they scryed to the top. And their last card is like a spell snare. Ribbit. But they did F6 kind of quick for it to be a spell snare. I don't know. Another fatal push. That's probably a reasonable guess. All right. Race to who finds the next threat. Race to who finds the next threat that matters. Okay. I'll go for the upkeep Bowmaster. Called the spell snare. Okay. How many Murktides have we been through? 3. The only relevant outlaw in Modern is Ragavan, kind of blanking. Ragavan and Dalthy Voidwalker. And I think those are pretty much it. Definitely should have held that land for Frog. Well. All right. I think I need to shuffle because I feel like I might have... I know I scryed a Murktide to the bottom, but I feel like I probably haven't shuffled since then. I mean... I know it's not great here, but... Stands in front of an Orcish Bowmaster. That's got to count for something. They got a fatal push. We don't have a fatal push. You're pushless. Ooh. Bold. So we just let this go. go for the sync on the army token. Because they can't Bowmaster here, so if they don't interact with this, like I just have a free attack. All right, little Harbinger. You can do it, buddy. You can do it. Just 2 whiffs. Get there. Go away. Just 1 whiff. Come on, Harbinger. Come on, Harbinger. Yes! All that, it's only game 1. Alright. Stern Scoldings. Mystical Disputes. Nihil Spellbomb. Not really a mirror surgical gamer. Don't think I want Crusader. Don't think I want Consign to Memory. Deluge, Consign can go away. I'm just boarding out some forces. Oh, Harbinger. I'll just like board out all the Harbingers on the draw. Maybe I bring one back in on the play, but probably not. I don't think Spell Pierce looks very good. I think I'd rather have Force than Spell Pierce. Got some Surveils. Go. Big Buck Snow Frog. Big Buck Snow Frog. How do you like the Crusaders so far? I think they're really good. If you're playing against a bunch of Boros energy. So if you don't play against a bunch of Boros, definitely less exciting. All right. We will take a frog, but I'm not going to play the frog out yet. Kind of want to just start like shoving with some of these Bowmasters. You're going to shoot the sheriff or the deputy. Hopefully all of the above. I shot the sheriff. but I did not shoot the deputy. Consider your options. Fair. I too can frog. I think we'll ditch the force. Force pitch force. Okay, if they've got the push, they've got the push. But I still think it's better to surveil so that I can go for the preordain on my turn. Sure. So I think I would rather filter these next couple draws a little bit. Okay. I just can't believe you weren't proud of me for milling out my opponent's whole deck in one turn. I was present. I was there. I don't know what more you want from me. Present does not equal proud. It doesn't. I was accepting of this being a life choice you wanted to make. Oh, Zeriak, you got brought up yesterday at the RCQ I played in. Somebody, what did they say? It was something like, oh, I usually play mill, something to that effect. And I was like, oh, guy I know placed second or placed 10th or whatever in the challenge last night with mill. And they're like, oh, who was it? And I'm like, oh, Zeriak. And oh, I watch their stream all the time. I'm like, I'm sorry. You shouldn't. Kidding, I didn't actually say that part. I'm mystical disputing this. Yeah. I think I want my bowman to resolve. How was your RCQ? Well, when I was planning on what deck or how I wanted to adjust Shadow, I saw Tron and I saw FrogTide everywhere. And so I jacked up on my break the ices and I was good to go. And then when I sat down for my actual rounds, I saw energy everywhere. And suddenly the world stopped making sense. So whatever we want to call that. Solid draw. I don't know. I feel like every event I go to recently, I'm looking through the room and it's just FrogTide and Tron everywhere. And then I sit down and play and I just run into all the energy decks. And it's like, I swear y'all aren't what I was seeing when I first sat down. Split top 4 my RCQ and lost playing for the invite. Drew heinously bad in the mirror. What were you playing? Dimir? In the Dimir? So clever. So clever. You're playing Boros? Traitor. More Mardu or Boros? Boros. Definitely more Boros. All right. If they have a counter spell, I don't think I care that much. I'm kind of more happy just getting it out of hand. Got to decide if I'm getting on the analyst train for my next RCQ. Every time I've played against Amulet and they've had analyst, I've been like, oh, thank God this isn't a card that actually did anything I cared about. But I also understand that this is coming from the shadow viewpoint where it's like there's not that many cards that I care about. So yeah, I think I am just discarding a counter spell. Kill this. Have Bowmaster for their Bowmaster next turn. Have a FrogTide. Yay. Top 8 at every RCQ with different deck, so I'm just going through the rotations. Too many rotations. Like, play something. One thing. Time to money match me. Better than that mono, or not mono green, the green black Tarmogoyf mirror. Well, that's not resolving. I think I'm going to save the preordained for force fuel. Hugin's Labyrinth, no pitch. What does that mean? What? Sure. Sure, we'll do this force negation nonsense. I've got nothing else to do today. One ring. One ring. Kozilek's command. Oh, heck yeah. Get out of here. Okay. So now we just have to kill them before they get enough mana for this Devourer. We'll take the extra damage. That looks like a force pitch card to me. Nope. At least Lutri top 8'd 2 challenges. They've top 8'd 2 now. I knew they top 8'd the one Xenoon posted about. You just stop casting things. Tron players really out here acting like it's difficult to just not put things on the stack. Bless. He top 8'd both of them. I only saw one of them get posted on Twitter. Okay. Break the ice. Consign. Harbinger. What do we think about surgical against these decks? I feel like it's not that great. Deluge out, pushes. It's meh now. Fair. Especially if they're less all in on like the Through the Breach plan. Now, I wouldn't hate bringing in Mystical Dispute over like a couple Shoot the Sheriff. That's probably worth it. I'm actually not against bad mana leak. Also pitches to force. We don't speak of that deck. Wait, you don't like the main deck Emrakul deck? Or main board Emrakul deck? Alright, pretty easy ship here. We've got Force. We've got Harbinger. I think I'm going to keep it and throw back FrogTide. Well, we're on the draw, and I don't think it's getting better if I go to 5. Like, what am I looking for at 5? 2 lands, Frog, Force, blue card is about it. Like, I need more than just lands to win. I need lands plus interaction plus a clock. And this has got an interaction, or got interaction plus a clock. I just need the lands. But if I throw this back and keep a hand with like lands and interaction and no clock, or lands and a clock and no interaction, like it's still going to be missing a part. So I'm gonna try to high roll it. Force also looks a lot better when I actually keep a hand with more than like 4 cards. Plus they're down to 5. This is good clean Magic. Untap Black Source. All right, well, we might be here for a minute. Keep a one-lander with no cantrips is never correct. I feel like you're being far too strict in a mulligan scenario. Where, like, you just can't keep pitching down to a perfect 3-card hand and expect to beat Tron. I feel like that's just kind of a losing ploy. All right, come on. Fight over the frog. Fight over the frog. Or play a one ring. I am going to give people in this chat so much shit if we win this game. I really don't want to ditch the Harbinger, but I kind of feel like I should for the chance of double frog. It's like they're so far off a Tron. Yeah. Swamp's so confusing. The art or getting the swamp? Because I got the swamp with the expectation that I was possibly playing Harbinger this turn. All right, countering the search trigger off Myco spawn. I do like the idea of double flying frog. I need a bunch of cards to get this game over with. I need to find like more counter spells. Well, I can cast that. Oop. Okay. Good pickup. So we'll go attack both Ditch, Watergrave, and Bowmaster to whichever one they block. Or Am I just going all in on one big frog? Like ditch, ditch. I guess Cling is a free redraw. Alright. I think I'm just going to ditch Land Bowmaster, whichever one they block. Little punish for not just ditching double Bowmaster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another temples. They could cast a Devourer here. Looks like what they're doing. I would love to know who on Watsy's design team really sat there in a meeting and said, we need more cast triggers. Just like, y'all don't understand. People really don't want their stuff to be sticking around. They want their counter spells worthless. Absolutely worthless. How dare you even consider this isn't something they want? All right. Guess replicate once is fine. Replicate. Hit that. Ditch the spell snare. I'm on to you, Magic Online. Yeah, we'll go counter spell because if their last card's like a Kozilek's command, I need force to interact with it. What's the best fair competitive card you would want in Mill? I think Mill needs a good 2-drop spell / creature right now. Everything is pretty much 1/3 CMCs, only Drown being the only real 2. I can see that. I can see hands being like really clunky if you don't see a big amount of 2-drops or big amount of 1-drops to like curve you through. All right. We'll preordain because I would love to find like a break the ice. Since we don't, we'll just pass with counterspell. There's not a need to play out the FrogTide. I've got a big enough frog to kill next turn. I just need to counterspell so that I don't die. Is this Emrakul? Take my turn, Emrakul. That will get countered and will laugh all the way to the 3-0 bracket. Alright. I guess we can do a prediction. I feel like we haven't done a prediction in a minute. Manage prediction. Start prediction. All right. Predictions live. Make your guesses now whether or not we'll get the trophy, the 4-1, or the 3-2. And we'll go ahead and get rolling in the next one while it's going. One lander, one unbelieve. I'm telling you. I don't know if the Crusader plan's really necessary. I mean, you are not beating Boros reliably with, like, anything. But at least Crusader is trying something different. And at the end of the day, I'm okay with trying something different. See, I missed a follow from Moby Rinsler. Thank you so much for the follow. Hold on, let me rent the deck and Q snipe you. I'm surprised you already didn't have it ready to go. Just like waiting for the opportunity. Got like 35 seconds-ish to get your prediction in if you haven't already. %61% on the, yeah, we're going to trophy. All right, all right. What do we got here? I played Mistaken every league 3 times in a row and he wasn't even streaming. Dude, Mistaken grind some leagues off stream. It's impressive. Opponent reveals a Giganta. So I am going to assume we are up against an energy build. This hand, 1 land, basic swamp. Pretty easy shit back. Mercadon, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you as well are having an awesome, awesome afternoon. I don't love this. If it turns out they're on like Ruby Storm instead of energy, this hand's pretty great. So I don't think I can really afford to throw it back. But what I might do is just lead on one of these fetches. Yeah. I don't want to lead on the Undercity Sewers because I don't know what I'm up against yet. So I don't want to like surveil away something that I actively need. All right. Energy. All right. Them getting basic planes makes me think they probably have a Blood Moon in hand already. So I could get basic island, but I think I'd rather try to find some better interaction. And I've always got force for Blood Moon if I need it. All right, we're going to see if it holds true. I always joke about them having like the stuff that goes completely against my hand. So if that holds true, this should be like a double 1-drop turn instead of a 2-drop that I can spell snare. But them being on Mardu means they probably don't have Blood Moon. So that's kind of a plus. Welp. Called it. Except they didn't have the second 1-drop. So I don't know what we called. Opponent, I need you to start playing some 2-drops. Not a 2-drop. In no conceivable world is that a 2-drop. Yeah, we're going to do that. We're definitely going to do that. So, Harbinger. Now, do I want to play the sync? Yeah. I need to play the sync in case they have like an Ajani right here. I can fight over it. Why not looking for swamp there? Is that... This not a swamp? Is it something else? Is it not a swamp? It does look like the island. You're not wrong. I'm just giving you a hard time. Okay. Well, at the moment, we don't have to deal with Flage, but we still might have to be in a world of hurt to these guides if we don't find like a FrogTide. Don't be sorry. The art's good. I think the art is really good. It's just this art shouldn't be for a swamp. This should be like, I don't want to say a mountain. It's too like blue and black for a mountain. I don't know. It could be an island if you made this into like some sea line. But it just shouldn't be a swamp. Alright, just attack. You need to get the chip damage in. FrogTide. Oh, also, did I Oh my god, did I just pitch something to the force with like all of my mana available? That. Thankfully, it wouldn't have mattered. Hate all the arts that can deceive you, like the oil slick non-swamps. The only one, oh my god. The only one that I actively despise is, I think it's like the Kamigawa swamp. Type, land, basic. Where are you? This one. Display, preview. This swamp, because it's just glowing red. Like, this should be a mountain in every single stretch of the imagination because it is literally glowing red. But it's a swamp. Why? Why? I hate it so much. Well, we get to try out these Crusaders. I guess that's something. I wonder what, like, Pygonti normally boards out in this matchup. Maybe, like, trim on a FrogTide because of all the exile effects. Maybe not bring in all the Harbingers. No surgical against Flage. I think, hot take, if you want to consider it a hot take, I think surgical is an absolutely atrocious answer to Flage. Like, that game, that last game, Flage didn't kill us. Flage doesn't matter half the time. It's a reasonable card, but it's just not the way that you lose more often than not. And it's the same reason that, like, Prowess and Burn and stuff can play surgical and still lose to energy like crazy. Like, it's just not an effective card against the deck in general, let alone Flage. I don't know. I hate everything about surgical into Flage. Yep. Like, I think you want your Grave Hate against Flage to do something else. Hearse can attack later on or be used as a blocker. You don't want to block with like your Harbinger or whatever. Nihil Spellbomb redraws. But just like Surgical's the one thing that is just going down cards for something that might not even matter. Like, you Surgical, and then your opponent wouldn't have escaped the Flage anyway. Now you're just down a card for something that didn't, like, impact the board. And I'm just so against that. Go for another frog. Spellbomb also clears escape fuel, right? So does Hearse. So are they so exposed to Harbinger? They're not like super exposed, which is why I didn't board in the third one aggressively on the play. But they're not just like free rolled against Harbinger. In the Bowmaster. What do you think of Upheaval and Frog? For the old Upheaval with one floating, play land, play Frog, and discard to kill turn after. We're talking about the 6 mana Upheaval, right? Or is there another Upheaval that I don't know about? I think 6 mana sorcery is just like absolutely unplayable. Like, you are going to die with that sitting in your hand, not doing anything. That's just asking a whole lot. If there was like a cheap Upheaval that got like a few things or under some condition, then maybe I could get behind it. But just like big full cost Upheaval seems really, really rough. Kind of surprised they didn't do that into the preordain, but whatevs. Do pretty well casting 6 CMC at sorcery speed. To be fair, your 6 CMC at sorcery speed comes down like turn 3. You could play Upheaval and Titan, and that would be hilarious. Load a bunch of mana, cast your Upheaval. Repeat. Alright. We'll let the Ajani enter. We'll Fatal Push the Ajani before it makes a cat. And I think that I do not want this preordain anymore. One, two, three. Something, something. Give me back my frog. Stop holding my frog hostage. Amped Raptor. Okay. I could counterspell, but I feel like their last card is a static prison, or one of their last cards is another static prison. And I really don't want them to take my FrogTide. I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the ocelot. Alright. Eventually, I will get this frog back. Ocelot's endangered. Shooting one means jail. Shooting one means you get your name on a trophy leaderboard. So... who's the real winner? Okay. Flage resolves. Shoots me, I guess. Yeah. Then during their second main phase, we'll kill the ocelot. Carry on. So I could Crusader plus Sink. Feel like that doesn't do a lot for me. Just give me my frog back. You have the frog. I would like the frog. Give me the frog. Guide of Souls. Sure. Tack all out. Right click, tack all. Dang. Worth a try. Okay. Okay. So we're going to pass and pop Spellbomb on their upkeep. That way if they go for like a Bowmaster, I can respond to it. If not, if they wait till their upkeep, then they've like got to spend half their mana. I'm just like so certain that they've got a static prison as their last card. I just know it. I know it's a static prison. Why draw a card? Because I need cards. I've got a Psychic Frog sitting out here. I need fuel for it. All right, what trickery is this? Is this double discharge? Double discharge, and they're just like assuming I don't have any way of... Nightmare's a really good call. I think I'm just taking the one. Yep. Good call on the Nightmare. All right, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 counters on the FrogTide is 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm one short. One instant or sorcery, right? If I ditch the hand, grows frog to a 5. And I exile 1, 2, 3, 4. Grows FrogTide to a 10, so 12. So I think I am gonna... No. I can't hop the frog and attack. I kind of have to wait. Playing out Crusader doesn't feel like it just does anything. Like, I kind of need to attack with the FrogTide. But I'm also just, like, close to dead on the backswing, so... At 16, I counted 15. Discard 4 to the frog is a 5/5 or 5/6. Exile all the instants and sorceries for the FrogTide is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yeah, it's 15. Yeah. Definitely 15. Unfortunately, using any instants and sorceries I have, like, makes frog worse. Because now I'm not discarding these cards to frog. So as weird as it sounds in the face of Bowmaster, I really need this draw to be, like, preordain into something. Like preordain into another preordain into Fatal Push or something like that. I can block the raptor, right? Blocking that doesn't matter. They would just, like, get the energy back. If this is galvanic discharge. I block, they discharge. 1, 2, 3, 4. Grows up to a 10. It's still not dead to discharge. Yeah. Block here. Well, it's not even 3 more energy, right? It's like 1 more energy. I guess the life kind of matters a bit. So, do I just play out the other frog? No. We're gonna have this Flage regardless. Flage shoots me in the face for 3. Well, if I play second frog and try to draw and they just like Flage hit me, attack all out, I'd be taking 1 off the Bowmaster down to 5, 3 off the Flage down to 2. And now if they Guide of Souls put counters on either of the 1/1s, I just die. Just take this. Flage me in the face. This is going to be the most anticlimactic, like, Flage plus Bolt ever. Sure. Exile the frog. Okay. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Comes a 6/6. Exile 1, 2, 3, 4. Becomes a 10/10. So I had hit him for 16. There's just like nothing I can hit off the draw that does it. So if I draw, say I draw, get pinged down to 3, play the other frog, and draw into counter spell. Then I've got Counterspell Flage. Block. Block. And I'm dead. Like, even if I hit mass removal, the only option is Glistening Deluge. I take one off the Bowmaster, get pinged down to 3 off the Frog draw. Deluge doesn't kill the Trespasser. They still have Flage to kill me. Yeah, you can give Frog flying as much as you want. The problem is I only have 4 instants and sorceries. Shoot the Sheriff, Counterspell, Sink, and the Stern Scolding in hand. So no matter how many times I give the Frog flying, I can only grow the Murktide to a 10/10. Yeah, the creature land, or the, like, drawing these Crusaders hurt really bad. Or drawing the Crusaders when we drew the Crusaders hurt really, really badly. If we had drawn them earlier, maybe we would have had a little bit more of a chance. But just drawing them like turn 10 or something did not help. Yeah. That Crusader just feels like you want it turn 3 or never. But it also is probably a lot better against Boros than it is against Mardu, since Mardu's got Thoughtseize and potentially Fatal Push. Why is Energy playing that Pioneer creature? Bad Grave Hate? Couldn't tell you. Probably just Flage Mirrors and play it into Murktides. That's about all I can think of. Alright. Let's preordain first. See if we can find I was going to say a Force Negation. Love to see that. Now maybe we can play out Frog turn 2 and protect it. If they do something absolutely busted turn 2, we can force pitch Counterspell. If they go for Discharge, I think I'm going to ditch Deluge Bowmaster, keep Force Counterspell Murktide, and try to go for, like, force a Static Prison on their turn into untap, have Murktide. I've seen some people play Meathook Massacre out of the sideboard and try to wipe the board and regain needed life. Have you tried it? Unironically, I think I was the first person that played Meathook Massacre. Because we've been playing it for like a few weeks now. Longer than that, probably. And I don't even know if I have it in any of the current lists. But I know there's plenty of lists with it on, what's it called? Moxfield that we've played. But using it for that exact reason of being able to, like, try to fight back after the board gets wrathed. Or to regain a little bit of life so you can stabilize after you wrath the board. And it does do that job fairly well. All right. So we could Bowmaster to shoot the cat, try to force the Ajani flip, and get to attack in with the frog. We could preordain to try to find a third land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could ditch everything, make a big FrogTide. I think I like Bowmaster, shoot the cat, and try to force the Ajani flip. And then just like attack down the Ajani. Those frogs still draws when you attack a planeswalker. We'll ditch preordain and ditch counterspell. Or do we want to just ditch? Probably ditch deluge and keep force available. Should have pitched force. Maybe they go Ajani, removal spell on their own Ajani to try to flip it. Yeah. I don't want to deal with the bombardment. Ocelotl. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7. Just attack him with the frog. You really like seeing a blue card there. So now I've got force, pitch, fuel, go. So force, ditch Dark Slick, ditch draw for turn is 5, exile. This becomes an 8/8. So if I draw an instant or sorcery, I've got lethal. Or if they fetch. Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure if they attack with the Ocelot, I can block it, and even if they flip a Johnny in like 0, they're still dead. So let's double check math. We discard all 4. FrogTide grows, or Psychic Frog grows to a 7, whatever. Give it flying. We're gonna get solituded, aren't we? I can feel it. Oh, yeah. Never mind, we didn't get solituded. Just topped an RCQ with Reactive Shadow and lost to fucking Aetherworks Marvel Breach. That's a thing. So one of the people I saw playing at the RCQ I was at yesterday was running a like freed from the real Sylvan Caryatid combo deck that was pretty hilarious. And their reasoning was just like, oh yeah, I'd goldfish just a turn faster than most of the combo decks, and because I can goldfish on turn 2, and Boros doesn't really interact with me at all because my stuff has hexproof. And I'm like, all right, power to you. Solitude in your Amped Raptor deck. Good luck with that. Obviously, you don't play against the same people I play against, because they be breaking some wild stuff out. I'm not going to bring in the Crusaders this time. We're going to see if it looks any better without it. Like, Freed, I don't know if you were here for last game, but we died because we kept drawing Crusaders with like a Psychic Frog and a Murktide out. Just not drawing actual spells, drawing creatures that didn't really impact the board. I might bring them in on the play, but like on the draw, anywhere past turn 3, they just look awful. And Stein stopped the prison. Little narrow. Like if I see the One Ring, then I might bring it back in, or like the One Ring plus prison plus like Chain to the Rocks. But I don't think I want it just for Static Prison, and I haven't seen the other things yet. So I really don't want to go like too overboard respecting stuff I haven't seen, especially if I'm up a game already. Crusader seems too lost in the sauce to you. I'd be pretty inclined to agree. Chain, Prison, One Ring sounds like every energy deck to me. I've seen plenty that aren't running One Ring. It's definitely popular, but I don't think it's like auto-include territory yet. Especially with Mardu. Mardu's kind of behind the times. Just look at them out here casting their Bowmasters. So many frogs, so little time. You don't need 4 ring main board, but I think at least 2 main board, 1 or 2 more on the side. Maybe we can check Goldfish, see what it's looking like. Decks, popular, modern. It's so hilarious to see like number 1, Boros energy, number 2, Mardu energy, number 4, Jeskai energy. All right, so first list. 4th place, SCG Con Tampa. No rings in the 75. 5-0. 2 rings in the sideboard. All right. 5-0. No rings in the 75. 5-0. 2 rings in the sideboard. 5-0. No rings in the 75. This is from the challenge. 2 in the main, none in the 75. Or none in the sideboard. None in the 75. None in the 75. 4 in the main. Okay, this person feeling it. That came in second in the challenge. None in the 75. None in the 75. None in the 75. So definitely a lot scarier, or a lot more likely out of Boros than it is out of Mardu. Blood Moon seems way better than a couple Bowmaster Thoughtseize. I agree. I think the Boros version is exponentially better than the Mardu. But some people really like their Bowmasters, and who are we to judge? Buying Giganta. Do we? Like, it's shutting them off of white. If they just have like a discharge or a they have discharge or the goblin bombardment, they can kill it. Yeah, I think I'd rather have a land. All right. Play out a frog. Say go. Mardu is much better in the mirror and versus Jeskai. So Boros isn't better. It's just a meta call. But, like, the consistency is huge. Like, I think Boros is better into an open field, and that's what you're more likely to play against. So, like, if you base it off of the MTG... Let's see. If you base it off the MTG Goldfish meta... then, yeah, I would say, like, you're better against Boros, you're better against Jeskai. Probably a little bit better against Storm because you get, like, Thoughtseize or whatever. But, I mean, I've just seen Mardu multiple times today. Couldn't tell you the last time I saw Jeskai control. Boros is probably better against, like, all these Tron variants, which you see a good bit of. Oh. Better against Frog too. Mardu's better against Frog. I think Boros is better against Frog. Coming from having played the Dimir side a lot. Like, I think Boros is way better. Got here a Johnny. My list from the last 2 RCQs. Let's check it out. Kind of want to just go FrogTide, hold up Counterspell, but at the same time, if they've got Discharge, then they have enough mana to Discharge, kill my FrogTide. Right. I do like cutting down to 3 FrogTide a lot. 4 feels overkill pretty often. And I do like the 3 force. I don't like, or no, Bitter Triumph is fine. I was thinking of Shieldred's Edict. Running the Considers. Yeah. Pretty straightforward, right? Had Bowmasters over Harbinger and 1 force negation, but decided I wanted something else. No Thought Scour minus 2 points. Okay. Just not allowed to have frogs. I think I might just cling this to Johnny and gain a little life. Yep. One, two, three, four. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and preordain and then get an extra ping on me, but I get down to fully charged FrogTide. Sure. I don't know if I like that out of them. Like, is that better than just having a bigger orc army? Maybe. Yeah, can't let you resolve into Johnny while you got a Goblin Bombardment out. So if I block, they've got ping for 2, discharge. Yep. Gonna beat that. I'm going to bring the forces back in. I don't love force, but it feels like there's so many times that I just have to tap out for like a big threat on turn 2 or 3, and I have to have the force back up. These situations with Goblin Bombardment might be a great place for a meat hook. Possibly. What are the Crusaders there for if not this matchup? They are for this matchup. We've tried them in this matchup earlier in the league. They didn't feel good. They didn't work. So now I'm trying not running them and seeing if it does any better. Like, just because you have the card in the sideboard doesn't mean you have to beat your head against the wall and force yourself to bring it in over and over again, right? Yeah. Yeah, Meat Hook definitely does a good job of, like, shutting down bombardment, in a sense. I'll keep Sync on top, because it's not only an instant or sorcery for FrogTide, it's also a pitch target to force if I just want to keep, like, counterspell available. Maybe they want to be nice and just, like, jam a Goblin Bombardment here. Please. No, of course not. All right. I think you want 3 to 4 sweepers, 2 toxic, 1 to 2 deluge / meat hook. I don't think you want both toxic and deluge, like if, or both toxic deluge and glistening deluge. I think you really want to be like one or the other. I think 3 is like the sweet spot if your goal is just to kill off all that janky stuff. All right. Definitely want to get in an attack with the frog, so I think I'm going to ditch the Sync. That's reasonable. Okay. No. Absolutely not. Just attack in with the frog, see what happens. Really? I did not expect a no blocks there. So you on top, you on topper. Go. Frog with force backup's too strong. It's definitely solid. It feels like one of the few ways that you can, like, actually compete in this matchup. But you do have to give up a pretty good bit of resources to do it. Alright, so if we ditch 2, Frog grows to a 4. We can get the FrogTide up to a 10. So we can't quite kill. But it's probably worth it to jump the frog and fly. So, like, discard Deluge. Yeah. This puts them dead to a frog next turn, even if they have an answer to the FrogTide. I was gonna say counterspell. Just make life easy for us. Give us the counterspell. No. All right. Nice little 4-1. Splitting 1-1 versus the energy decks. Was really cool to see that we didn't necessarily need the FrogRexian Crusaders to have game against energy post board. That game was what? Stern Scoldings made the difference for that match. Maybe you could just like find room for the 4th spell snare and like another Stern Scolding. So what do we think about the league overall? We beat a Frog Mirror. I don't think there's anything crazy that happened in the Frog Mirror. Just we saw removal. 1-1 split on the energy matchups. The games we lost. Yeah, I think we just have to keep in forces against energy. I don't love it, but like playing out a turn 2 frog was pretty important, and being able to force a follow-up like Static Prison or something. What was the last match? We saw a Tron match, and just Frog ran away with the Tron matchup. And what on earth was the last one? Anybody remember, or am I going crazy? Wizards. It was Wizards, wasn't it? Or I don't even know if it was Wizards. We never saw Flame of Anor, but we saw Snapcaster. We saw blue-red lands. Could have been. Yeah, we saw Harbinger of the Seas. So some blue-red. I'm guessing Wizards. But blue-red control. How many sheriffs were shot? At least like 4. But we never had a situation where we couldn't kill something. But Go for the Throat also would have been the exact same. There was never a situation where we had an artifact creature we were staring down and Go for the Throat wouldn't have been able to kill. So that's a big plus. Yeah, blue-red, like any of the red-based removal spells, you feel so good against, except for Galvanic Discharge. And that's only because you have stupid little Guide of Souls to deal with. But it was a really good showing for the blue-black FrogTide deck there. I think we can make a few little tweaks here and there and run it back and feel pretty happy.